If I spend too long talking as End of the Night Hannah, I'll legally have to take the hot out of my channel name. Hi, welcome, I'm Hannah. You might notice that my makeup is super unfinished right now, and that's because we're gonna put on my foundation together, because I finally got my hands on the TikTok viral craze, the KVD Good Apple Balm Foundation. Is there balm? Yeah, Perfecting Foundation Balm. I've seen a lot about this. I'm sure you have too, if you have like any eyes in the makeup community nowadays. I'm seeing people talk about it. I'm seeing people want it and not be able to get it. I'm also seeing reviews of people being like, it's not that good. People are using filters on TikTok when they review it. So I really just wanted to see for myself. I've been stalking the Ulta website and the Sephora website for a while trying to get it, and it finally came back in stock in my shade on Sephora. I got the shade Light 12. I think this one said it was like a light with neutral undertones, which usually is what I go for, if not like a fair to light neutral undertone. But yeah, since I saw it came back, I snatched it up. I didn't even wait for the sale, and it came really quick. It came like in 2 days, so that's cool. I guess a couple notes about my foundation preferences. I used to be a really only super full coverage foundation kind of girl. Recently, I'm more into something light coverage that I don't have to be like nervous about having like a line of demarcation on my face. Something to just kind of like even out my skin tone, but it doesn't look like I have a mask on. That's kind of funny to say nowadays. Wearing masks is cool, but just not like a mask of foundation. So yeah, it's in this little pan. I don't know what I expected, but I feel like this clear is gonna get so messy so quick. I guess I'll do like a little swatch of it. Oh, it definitely feels like a really soft balm. Like I'm kind of surprised that it just came up that easily. I think I'll swatch my neck to see if the color looks right. Might be a little dark for me. I'm gonna look on the Sephora website to see how they recommend applying it. Okay, so the instructions on the website are to blend and build to your desired coverage using a beauty sponge or dense foundation brush, which is pretty standard. I'm a big brush girl, so that's what I'm gonna use today. I was nervous that it was gonna be kind of like exclusively like good to use with a sponge, and then I would be a little bit out of my element. It says, use a patting motion to create the fullest coverage. Use your fingers to spot conceal. For oily areas, set foundation with their Lock It setting spray. I don't have oily skin. I have very kind of like normal skin, leaning dry if anything. I could really see this being like a really nice spot concealer. I always get pimples on my cheeks, and I could see myself like using it to cover them up if this shade matches. I'm a little nervous. I'm not using a primer. I usually don't use a primer unless I know that the foundation's really thick and won't glide on without it. And also a lot of times in those cases, I'll just mix it. Like for example, I've been mixing my Tarte Found Sealer with my Glossier Future Dew just to kind of make it more serumy, because I find that the Found Sealers is way too thick to go on its own. And also I meant to clean my foundation brush today, but I didn't. So please disregard that, but that's also pretty standard. I don't want to like, you know, make everything perfect for this and then I'm making it too easy for it to be good. Like I think a foundation can be good with a dirty brush too, you know? I'll zoom you in. Got a little fallout. So it'll be interesting to see how full coverage it is on my cheek pimples. All right, interesting. This is so much. First initial impression is I kind of hate it. Just look at that like difference. Like I see like it's a lot of coverage, and I think the reason I'm initially feeling like I don't like it is just because I'm nervous having this kind of coverage that it's going to just wear really poorly throughout the day. I mean, even now it's like you see like it makes my skin look so fake. I have a mustache with this. I don't even have enough hair there that like I don't do anything about like my peach fuzz by my nose, but I have noticed a couple times in my life putting on certain makeup really clings to it. And that looks really bad. I feel like if I wore this every day, I'd be like, I have to do something about my mustache. But like, I don't think I have to do anything about my mustache. Maybe you disagree, but. It reminds me of when I was like in high school, I would use the Maybelline Dream Mousse, and that was like super thick, and I loved that I would put it on and I'd really like see the coverage. And I think for this, it's like, you know, you could tell how bright my cheek pimples were at the start of this, and it really did cover them up really nicely. But I think for my whole face, it just looks a little bit too thick for me. I also think the color might not be perfect. I don't know, I'll have to look at myself in different lights, but I feel like even the full shade lighter would probably be too light for me. So I've had it sitting on my face for a little while now, probably under an hour still, but I was finishing up for my Spongebob palette dupe video, which probably went up last if you're curious about that. I'll link it down below. But you can see that where I swatched on my neck before, you can really see how dark it is, which is interesting because I feel like it doesn't look that crazy dark on my face. I did look at the website though. The shade that I got is light with neutral undertones, and I was trying to see how light the next lighter one with neutral undertones was, and I realized they don't even have a fair with neutral undertones, at least on the Sephora website. The next lightest one with neutral undertones is a very fair, which I know would not work for me. I would need a fair, if not the light. So that's a little disappointing too, but I still feel like it looks alright. The longer I've sat around with it on today, it is growing on me a little bit. I still think my biggest issue is the peach fuzz. It's really clinging to that, but I really like it on my cheeks. Yeah, I don't know, I think it looks pretty nice actually. I'm gonna try it a couple more times. I'm going to try it probably just as like a spot concealer next time, maybe as like a concealer also. I was gonna do concealer today, but I did end up adding a little bit under my eyes just to be careful. And maybe I'll even try it with a sponge one day just to be thorough. But I don't know, these are just my really initial first impressions, and we will reconvene soon with some more thoughts. My tripod is so crooked at this point that I'm just holding this camera and I'm talking low because it's like 4:30 in the morning. I look crazy. It's just my mascara. I'm not crying. I didn't touch anything up. I just figured I'd show you how the foundation's looking now that I've had it on for like 10.5 hours. So not great, not great. The biggest concern is the nose. That would be my biggest issue if I was going to like wear this to a job that I was going to be at for hours. This would not work. You have like my glasses marks, which are pretty standard, and it is rubbing away on my cheek too. You're seeing that redness now. I often feel like I would rather use a really light coverage tinted moisturizer or something like that, because at least when it starts kind of like disintegrating, it doesn't look as obvious. And this, I feel like it looks very obvious because it's so like plastered on top of skin. I think my skin looks really bad right now. So that's my thought. I'm sorry for making you look at me in this condition. It won't happen again. Hopefully. So I'm just getting ready for my vaccine appointment right now. I'm super glittery, but that's okay. If you don't accept me at my glittery, then you don't accept me because I'm always glittery. I'm going to try to do a lighter layer of this with my fingers. I think I'm gonna try to avoid my nose and see if I can get it kind of light enough that you won't notice if other parts of my skin don't have anything on them. But if I need to, I might throw like a little tinted moisturizer in the center to try to neutralize my tone a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited to do this with my fingers. It doesn't feel that dry under my eyes, which I like. I kind of even like I feel what they're talking about with the apple thing. So this is a kind of a good side to side with one half with like a light finger application and one half with nothing. And I think it does look pretty natural, just like that.
What we do here is go back.
I can see though how the color isn't perfect. I think it actually looks pretty good, but I am going to throw a little bit of concealer in the center. Does anyone else throw in a quick look to just like run an errand and you look like this? I'm wearing my Patrick Ta powder blush on top of it, and I think the cheeks look really nice. I didn't add any more concealer. You can see that kind of like dark line. I'm trying to like get over that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how my base looks right now. We will check in a little bit and see how it goes with this lighter finger application. All right, I'm using some flashlight light. Hopefully it's not too jarring. But I just got my vaccine. It was really nice and easy. It's only been maybe about 2 hours since I put this on. But so far, I think it looks really nice. Maybe I'll be able to tell better from the footage later. But no complaints. I think so far out of the 2 times, I know I didn't show you the first time how it looked after this short amount of time, but I think it wore a lot worse on those areas like my nose that are kind of like get worn away more somehow. So yeah, I don't mind this, and I will see you later. Hi, I'm so tired. I've had this on for like 11 hours, and I think it's actually kind of worn off pretty nicely. This is like how I'd want makeup to wear off. I think you can see my pimples. It barely looks like I have anything on my cheeks at this point, but I think that after 11 hours, I would rather this than for it to look like flaky and cakey. I did add extra mascara before. I went for a jog in the rain. I took a bath. My mascara's all smeared and I just put like concealer on before, but I didn't touch my cheeks. And I think that for this purpose, what I want, it's a success. Okay, so for my final test, I'm going to be using a sponge to apply. It's actually still light out outside, which is weird for me to be putting on my makeup while it's light out. But I have this sponge from Makeup Eraser. I got it in a Trend Mood box. I might have said this already, but I'm not the biggest sponge person. I used a beauty blender on and off a couple years back, but I always found like it ended up pulling up my makeup. So I stopped using it permanently. It just wasn't worth the risk, even if it only happened once out of a handful of times. It just wasn't worth the risk when I needed my foundation to look good. But I wanted to give this foundation a fair shot and try it a couple different ways, so that's what we'll do. I really want to just dip it in there, but I'm scared I'm going to wreck this. But it feels weird to like put it on my finger, to put it on my hand, to take it off my hand with this. Vote now. Should I do it? Already, I think I like it better than with the brush because I think it gives it a much softer application. And I'm going to put it everywhere today. So from what I can tell so far, I think this looks really nice. I have felt like, especially with the first time when I put it on with the brush and it was very heavy, that it did look pretty good to start with, but it really deteriorated throughout the course of the day. So I guess that will be the real test of how it wears. But I do like this. You know, my original concern was about it like sticking to my peach fuzz, and maybe I do see it a little bit. I feel like usually the peach fuzz is like absolutely no concern for me. It's not as bad as it was the other day. And even this, like I wouldn't really be insecure about it. It doesn't like scream at me like it did that first time, but it is more than nothing. I added on a powder blush and a powder highlighter. I did not add any concealer or powder. I even smudged my mascara and I'm just leaving it because I want to see how this performs as a concealer. So yeah, that's the face for now, and we will check in later and see how it's holding up. So it's been about 7 hours at this point, which is a pretty decent amount of time. I figured I would say most of my thoughts now because I'm about to take a bath and wash my hair. I will do a check-in later, but I just know that I'm going to like be going severely downhill after this, so I thought this would be like a happy medium to have to look at me. If I spend too long talking as End of the Night Hannah, I'll legally have to take the hot out of my channel name, so we don't want that kind of paperwork. I think it looks all right now. It's definitely fading, and around my nose, you can see the redness, but it's still not as bad as it was with the brush. I also think it does not look good on my under eyes. I guess it's fine, but they look very dry and it's not that much coverage under there. So I don't really like using it for an under eye concealer, but I do think I prefer more under eye coverage than a lot of other people do. My final thoughts as of now is that it's very full coverage right away, but it doesn't wear very well. So if you're looking for something to put on and take pictures with, or if you're going out to the club and you're only going to be out for a couple hours and you want something very full coverage, I think it's fine, but I wouldn't use it as a put on all day and go to work and not worry about your foundation kind of foundation. I do think the nice thing about it being in the compact is that it is transportable, and the fact that you can just kind of like stick your fingers in it, it does make it easier to touch up, but that's not really my journey. I also think it would work well for someone who has a lot of skin concerns that you want to cover up. You know, for me, I don't really mind my acne spots showing through, and if I'm making a choice between full coverage and natural, I'm gonna go towards natural. But I know there's been times in my life, and there's other people that would prefer the full coverage, even if you can tell it's not natural. I think I made this comparison before, but it really does remind me of the Maybelline Dream Matte Mousse. I don't even know if they still make that, but I used that back in high school, and I loved that you would put it on and you'd actually see it going on. You'd really see like the coverage. It felt like you were putting something on top of your skin that was like sitting there and covering up. And this does do that, but it's just that my number one concern is that it doesn't last very long. And that is something that's very important to me in concealer and in makeup in general. I want something that if it's going to go away, it's gonna go away in like a natural way. And I don't want that like disintegrating makeup around the nose look that I was really having after I put it on with the brush. I think I will keep it and continue using it for times that I want like a flawless look in pictures, or if I want to take something with me to spot conceal, but I don't love it. It's not my new favorite. I think it's fine if it suits your needs, but I don't think it's like a universal awesome foundation. I totally almost forgot about this. It's been like 16-ish hours. I look pretty terrifying. This as a concealer is a no-no, but I do feel like with the sponge application, it did wear off pretty nicely. It doesn't really look like I have foundation on my cheeks at this point, but I would take this over it looking weird and like crackly and icky. I don't think it looks icky, I think it just looks like I don't have foundation on. Around my nose looks a little bit icky, a little bit like hit or miss, but it has been a really long time. Overall, I do think that the sponge is probably the best application. The fingers are probably second best, but I think in general, I would avoid the nose when I do it. And everything I said before, I still stand by. And that's everything. If you want to see me talk about new products and using what you have, stuff like that, and looking a little bit more presentable than this right now, please give me a like and subscribe to find out what I look like when it's not the middle of the night. And thank you for watching. Bye.